Hey guys, are you sure you did the right thing in doing battle, like sending marches for solo attacks or in rallies? Is it correct and the best? I'm a little confused about how to explain it because this will be a long and continuous discussion so that beginners really understand. Maybe I should explain some basic knowledge first. Because it seems there are still many who don't know or are not aware. The first is about the types of troops. We all train the troops every day, but maybe there are still many who don't pay attention to this writing. So it's like a circle like this, where each type has its own advantages and disadvantages. So don't be surprised if full cavalry can win against full distance, even with the same or slightly lower stats. Then about tier troops. We can see that the higher the tier, the higher the strength, attack, defense, and health. So we know the higher the tier troops, the better. But have you ever heard of meat shields? The low tier troops, which are made in large numbers for the defense of the castle, I had doubts from the very beginning. The reason is, first, clearly couldn't take them in the march while in battle. Second, to be stronger we have to put down a war book for that tier, while without spending money we have trouble making war books. Third, with one blow would die in great numbers, and it would fill up the hospital and the sanctuary. And after that all the wounded troops will disappear because there is no more room to accommodate them. And what is the advantage? I don't know, because it will still lose if it is attacked by higher statistics. And it's like a waste of speed up and resources. And I almost have no low tier troops and always increase them regularly during troop training events, but I wonder why there are always tier 8 troops because I never train them. That's a little weird. And if you still have low tier troops, there is a quick way to increase it, after an update a few months ago. So we can immediately increase the lowest tier directly to the highest tier. It becomes faster, unlike before, which has to increase per tier. And if you don't want to increase certain types like artillery, then you can sacrifice it during KVK. Then with a 300% buff you can train other types of troops. And I think that's the purpose of the update at that time, in order to make it easier for people who still have low tier troops to increase it. Then basic knowledge of statistics. We can see the statistics are divided into several parts: for troops, infantry, cavalry, distance, and artillery. Then damage, damage received, and so on. The troop stats function for all units, be it infantry, cavalry, and distance, including artillery. While for distance statistics it is specifically for distance, and cavalry statistics are specifically for cavalry. The way it works is like this: when you send a full march of cavalry, what will be affected is the troops and cavalry statistics only, as well as the damage and damage received. Only the damage to the cavalry and troops has an effect, while the stats on distance and infantry were of no use at all. For an example of this statistic, when each side sends a full cavalry, let's try to calculate the statistics. We try to take the average, then the one on the left of the cavalry will be around 20,000, and then added with the statistics of the troops, 9,000, then that is a total of 29,000. Then the one on the right, if flattened, the cavalry will be around 18.5 thousand, plus 9,5 thousand troops. Then the total will be around 28,000. So in battle, the cavalry against the cavalry, the one on the left is slightly superior in statistics. Then for army damage, and cavalry damage received, the left one is also superior. So that's the factor affecting the battle from the stats. And in this report there are other factors, namely skill guard, number of troops, type, and tier. All of these influence and support each other in determining the outcome of the battle. This is the complete report along with the data on troops. Even though there was still a slight error, someone sent tier 11, but luckily it was still cavalry. Because if it is sent an inventory or distance, of course the results will change considerably. Because the toxic stats besides the cavalry were much lower than Chowder's stats. For solo attack, here is the equation report. The percentage of winning is not too big because the damage is the same, only the cavalry's stats were superior. And the opponent has more troops. But this is enough to prove that other statistics have no effect at all, except the troops and cavalry statistics. For tier influence, I think this report proves enough. With stats much higher, tier 11 can't beat tier 12, because as discussed at the beginning, the higher the tier, the stronger it is. It's natural because the training costs are also much more expensive. Even with a few tries, the percentage is always much higher, nothing comes close to winning. And for the distance against the cavalry, we can see from this report. For the troops almost the same, 6,000%. But my distance is much higher, the difference is more than 2,000%. And 1,000% difference in attack. But because the cavalry has the advantage against distance, so I can't beat him with that much difference in stats. Oh wow. His war book was too much on his cavalry. Is he still using the low tier? So put a war book like that. Twice tried and failed. In some cases maybe you can beat the cavalry using distance, even with the same or maybe lower stats. Take a look at the cavalry stats of this player, 13,000. Higher than the previous one, which I couldn't beat earlier, and this time I won by a large percentage. It's not because the troops' stats are lower. Although it also affects slightly. See the army damage. It's too low. As well as cavalry damage and cavalry damage received. Lower than my distance. And his war book is also incomplete. So he's not at his best yet. He probably didn't understand how important these things were. Or maybe you've won against a higher tier, like this, and thought it was because your stats were a little better. Then you think you can fight all the higher tiers with the same statistical ratio. When in fact the person you beat was not at his best. Watch all the damage. For distance damage there are several possibilities. It could be, that person is playing in a new kingdom, so he can't gather as many intensity gears as players in the old kingdom. And for army damage it could be when he arranges troops, using economic equipment. Or maybe he didn't put the glory banner on the building, which increased the damage. What is clear, that is the thing that causes March weak. And for the war book he was correct. As well as guard and types of troops. So it can be seen that the damage statistics are very important, and have a big influence in determining the outcome of the battle, the same as the war book, and the guards, and all of that supports one another. That's all the information this time, hopefully useful, and see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe for those who haven't, so you don't miss other information about this game. Thank you for watching.